Hello, Mr. Andy here. This is our first video for drafting 194 or 234, Intro to SolidWorks. So we're going to take a very quick tour, and then I'm going to fly through a few assignments. I'm going to go very quickly. I just want you to get a sense of kind of how we create, very different from your experience in AutoCAD last semester. I don't want you to be able to exactly mimic what I do. So I'm going to go very fast. This quick overview should have been in the lecture, but here we go. So I have SolidWorks launched, and in the background here, we'll use this in just a minute, I have your drawing assignments for the first week. But let's start a new file in SolidWorks, and your first decision is it an inch or a metric part? We'll deal with assemblies and drawings later in the semester. For the first 5 or 6 weeks, we're just going to be doing part drawings. So it'll be inch part or metric part. Our first assignment's metric, so I'm going to double click that. When you come up in SolidWorks, quickly up here you have what I'll call a ribbon. All these tabs give you different ribbons, just like Microsoft Office or any other application these days. And over here on the left-hand side, this is called the Feature Manager. So this whole area over here is the Feature Manager. And everything we do will kind of show up over here as we create features and shapes. SolidWorks is a feature-based modeler rather than AutoCAD, which is just you get what you get, but you can't go into separate pieces of it and look at it or modify it. Now, you'll notice in our drawing space that we have an origin here. This is real important because everything you do, every part you create, your base sketch has to be connected to the origin somehow. Sometimes that's important where you connect, and sometimes it doesn't really make any difference at all. And then down here is the triad. This is our kind of our view triad. Right now, X is in this direction, Y is going up, Z is coming this way. Now, we don't do coordinate entry like we would have possibly done early on in AutoCAD, but this kind of shows you what direction space is. Our first drawing here, this shape is going to be created on the front plane. We're going to extrude it. We're going to cut the holes, separate features, and I'm going to draw this again real quick in just a second. First decision you have to make normally is what plane am I going to put this on? I've instructed you, if I drag this over just a little bit, I've instructed you to put this on the front plane. So that decision's kind of out of your hands for this first week, but you'll be making those decisions as we progress, and that's an important decision, and if you don't do it right, then you'll lose points. So you'll have to be careful of that. So I'm going to go up to the front plane. You can see there's the front plane, and there's the top plane, and there's the right plane, and they all cross through the origin. So the origin is the common point for all three, and each of these planes is 90 degrees from each other. I'm going to click on the front plane, and as soon as I click on it, I get this little flyout menu up here. Let me just click out in space again. We'll do that one more time. I'll click on it. I get this little flyout menu, and I'm going to click on Sketch. So I want to start a sketch. And it turns that plane so it's looking straight at me. Remember, this is a 3D modeler, not 2D now, but we're sketching in 2D on this plane. I'm going to go up to the line tool, and I'll go ahead and connect this one to the plane, to the origin. Maybe down the road we'll do one out in space, and you can see the difference. And I'm just going to very quickly sketch. I'm not really paying any attention to distance here. I should be, but I'm not. But it really doesn't matter in SolidWorks. It just gets confusing if you're way off on your size. So I do normally pay attention to that number, but we'll be pretty close. So I have roughed sketched this shape, and that's the outside shape of the part. Notice that these two lines are black. The endpoints are not black, but the line is black. And the reason that line is black is because it's defined because it's locked to the origin. So this line, if I click and try to drag it down, I cannot move it. These will not move. They're locked to the origin, and so the line itself is black. The endpoint here is blue because it can move. I'm just dragging with the mouse, so it's a click and drag operation. So blue geometry, blue endpoints, they can be moved. They're not locked down yet. Our goal is to get our sketch fully defined, and you'll see down here at the bottom it says that we're underdefined right now. once we have all the information in there, dimensions, relations, etc., it should be fully defined. But right now, everything else can move here, okay? So let's start adding some dimensions, and you'll watch as the sketch starts to turn black. So we're going to go to the dimension tool. Now, unlike AutoCAD, SolidWorks is parametric. That means the dimension drives the geometry. So I don't know how long this line is. I'm going to click on it and pull down here, and I'm going to make it 150 millimeters long because that's how long the part should be. So I'm going to type in 150 and hit check, and it's going to resize the part for me. Okay? So this is now 150 millimeters long, and the dimension is driving the geometry. If I double click that dimension and change it to 120 and hit enter, it resizes. Okay? So the dimensions drive the geometry, opposite of AutoCAD, your experience last semester, where you draw the line precisely at some length, and when you put the dimension in, it just tells you what you already know. Here, the dimension drives the geometry. So we'll make this 150. Okay. Notice now, as you look, this is now a black endpoint and a black line here because that line can't move now. It's locked at 150 millimeters. This is a horizontal line. I should mention that. It already has a relationship on it. I'll click on that line. It's already locked horizontal. This line, because I drew it vertical, is already locked vertical. You can delete those relations, and then you could change the angle of the line. But SolidWorks is automatically creating relations for you oftentimes as you draw. All right, let's continue on. So dimension, well, we'll click this, and we'll make this 20 millimeters. That should lock that down. I'm going to go up to this line, down to the bottom line. Notice I'm not clicking endpoints. Important distinction in SolidWorks. Hard habit to get into it first because you're going to be taking AutoCAD and SolidWorks classes. AutoCAD, you click endpoints. SolidWorks, we like to click lines. Don't click endpoints because you can lose the dimension sometimes in certain situations when you trim off a corner or something. Let's get the overall height here. I can also just pick a line and come over instead of picking the top and the bottom. And we'll place that. That's 80 millimeters. All right, let's go from left to right now. So this line, we'll just go up, is 30 millimeters. And I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit here. We're working in a small space on this monitor. And then I'm going to go from this line to this line, and that is 60. And then we'll go, let's go out to the outside line, or we're going to get a crossover here real quick. We'll make that 120. And then we'll take this line to that line. We'll squeeze that in there. This is not a finished dimension drawing. We don't have to worry about dimension placement. So don't feel like you've got to get half-inch spacing and all that like we would have done in a 2D drawing in AutoCAD. It's not critical. I'm prettying this up so you can read them, but you don't have to worry about dimension placement in your model sketches. Okay? Now, we have some blue geometry left. Now, I think I have most all the dimensions in here that are given on the drawing. But this is still blue, and it's blue. I can move it. I can see that it can still go up and down. And likewise, this one is still blue. Everything else is black. If I click on this and try to move it, I can't move it left or right. Okay? Everything's tied down but these. Well, we look in our drawing, and these two lines line up. That's the assumption. But we have to tell SolidWorks that. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on this line. I'm not in the dimension tool. I'm just clicking. I click on that line. I'll hold the control key down and click this line. That's how we select multiple geometry. We hold the control key down. Click that line. They're both selected now, and I get this pop-up here. I can also use on the left-hand side of the screen, if you would just look with your eye over there where it says Add Relations, and it lists all kinds of options. I want to make these lines collinear, in line with each other. As soon as I click that, it's going to snap that line down in line with the 20 millimeter dimension line. So let's click it. And now that line is black. It's fully defined now. And if I click on that line, it tells me it has a collinear relation. And it even shows me the two lines here that are collinear. All right, I'm going to click this line, hold the control key, click that line, and again, we'll make them collinear. Notice now, down here at the bottom, it tells me that I am fully defined. That's what we want to see. Every sketch you do for me this semester has to be fully defined. Okay? So I'm not going to draw the holes. They're a cut. We're going to do that as a separate feature. I'm going to extrude this now to create the three-dimensional thickness. So we're going to go to Features, extrude. It's going to go into a pictorial view, and I can now extrude this in the Z direction. And I think this part is 10 millimeters thick. So we'll put in 10, and we'll hit OK. Now I have a 3D part. Okay, it has thickness now. Got it? Now, we want to cut the holes, so I need to do a new sketch, a 2D sketch. I'm going to do it on the front face of the part here. So I'm just going to click on the front of the part right here. I'm not going to use a plane. I'm going to click on the front of the part, and I'm going to start a sketch. This is edit the sketch that I just created. We don't want to do that. I want to click on the sketch, new sketch. If you want to look at it straight on, I'll show you this way. We have a shortcut key for it, but go normal 2, it'll square it up so you're looking straight at it. All right, I'm going to draw a circle up here. I'll put one here, put one here, put one here, put one here. Now, I did this on purpose. There's a lot of relations that we want to create to make these circles lock down. So, but let's go ahead and put the few dimensions in that we have. So I'm going to dimension. And again, it's a little different. In AutoCAD, we'd be selecting the center point. In SolidWorks, you really want to select the circumference. You'll lose a lot of additional features if you don't do this. So I want you to select the circumference. So pick the circumference and pick the bottom edge. It automatically will snap to the center point, and we'll put in a dimension of 28. Pick the circumference, pick the bottom edge, place 48. We're going to go from the left edge to the circumference, 45, and then we're going to go left edge to the circumference, and 105. And then I'll go ahead and put the diameter dimension in over here of 14 millimeters. Okay, so we've got all the dimensions in that match this, but notice nothing's blue yet. Okay, I'm going to hit escape, get out of the dimension tool. Now we need to create some relations. First of all these circles have the same diameter. Now I could put in 4 diameter dimensions, but that's a lot of extra work, if you will. We don't want all that extra dimensional information. And I'll show you why in just a sec. What I want to do is create a relationship between these 4 circles. So I'm going to pick these 4 circles by selecting their circumference. You cannot do this by clicking on their center points. And then we're going to make them all equal. I'm doing it over here this time instead of using the flyout menu, just so you can see you can do it either way. I'm going to make them all equal. And now they're all going to have the same diameter. Okay. What's nice about that is I double click this dimension and I make it 10 millimeters and they all resize together. Okay. So we'll go back to 14. Now I need to line these circles up. These 2 circles are horizontal. These are horizontal, and all the circles have some vertical relations. Now we're going to grab center points. I can't make 2 circles horizontal, but I can make their center points horizontal. Right there, I can say make horizontal. I'll pick this one and this one. Make horizontal. Whoops, I have too many circles selected. Oh, sorry, center points. I'm clicking and not thinking. Make horizontal. Now I'll make these 2 vertical. And I'll make these 2 vertical. Now I know that seems like a lot of work, but I want you to think about all the time you spent typing in coordinates or whatever in AutoCAD that we don't do now because we're establishing these relations. Again, here's the beauty of it. If I change a dimension, let's make that 45 and hit enter, both of those circles are going to move down together because they're related to each other. That would not be a behavior you'd see in AutoCAD. Okay? So the relationships control the geometry, and it gives us great flexibility in terms of editing. Okay. Now I have my 4 circles here. Everything's good. I want to cut them now, so we're going to go to Features up here again, and we're going to make an extruded cut now. Now you have to be very careful. The default will always say blind, and it'll give you whatever the thickness was you used the last time. Do not hit OK here. They'll look like through holes, but they won't be. So you're going to say through all. Okay, and we'll talk about why down the road, but you have to say through all here. If you don't and you change the thickness of the part, the holes would plug up because they're fixed at 10 millimeters. We can edit that, but it's a lot of work. So we said through all, and here's our finished part. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to stop right there with this video. We're going to do a part 2 and look at the rest of the assignments for this week. So check your second video to see those. And as always, enjoy.